I will. Oh, Kirk. Ready, Kirk? Everybody ready?
Everybody's ready.
Good evening, everyone. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 9, 2023, at the Town Hall West on the following applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At which time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 320-23, Patrick and Jennifer Shanahan. Permission to leave pool patio having rear yard on a through lot of 35 feet instead of required 40 feet, and pool equipment having side yard of 4.5 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence A District, east side of Garrison Avenue, 459.2 feet north of Henry Street, Bayport.
I know the neighbor carries the area, north, both that food and patio, obviously the street, both of those food and patio, the what goes to Forum Avenue, one of 15 feet.
Who installed the pool?
That's the house of
Oh, that.
Who owns that company again?
food. Right.
Yeah. No, yeah.
They're the only one that did it right.
Well, who put in the filter?
I don't know. Anyway, I don't think the community would be outweighed to the benefits to the applicant if the board so to grant it. Respectfully request the board do so.
Any questions from the board?
No.
No? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? Take a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Application number 321-23, Alexander and Courtney Marinoni. Permission to leave semi-in-ground pool having rear yard of 10.7 feet instead of required 14 feet, pool patio having rear yard of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet, and shed having second front yard of 11 feet instead of required 27 feet. Residence A District, southwest corner of Cerny Place and Udall Road, West Islip.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. I'm Alex Marinoni. This is my wife, Courtney Marinoni. We're the owners of the homeowners of 136 Cerny Place. We're here, like you said, to discuss the variances of those three items: the pool, the patio, and the shed. We purchased the home as is, and we discovered these were an issue when we did our solar panel project. This was all brought to light then, so we immediately worked with the permits department to rectify this. We brought in inspectors and everything else, and we've gotten a pass on everything. So the last that we need is your guys' approval on these three variances. Mind you, we purchased the home August of 2020, and according to Google Photos and our neighbors, the work has been done for nearly a decade. So that was that's it.
Are these all in the location that when you bought the house?
Yeah, we haven't done any of the work. I'm sorry.
So we did the solar panels. They
That's when they all got
technically found
discovered.
out that they weren't permitted, so then we worked with the permit department, thinking we needed to get the variance, and then we got it all passed and everything. The last step was just the variance part.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion. I'll second that, and I will also say that I admire you.
Yours as well.
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
Quick question, how do we get like the paperwork together?
The decision will be sent in the mail to you in about 1 week.
Perfect, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Application number 322-23, Darrell and Danielle Payne. Permission to erect second-story addition, leaving side yard of 13.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 27.7 feet instead of required 28 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 28.2% instead of permitted 25%. To leave in-ground pool having side yard of 12 feet instead of permitted required 14 feet, pool patio having side yard of 4.9 feet instead of required 6 feet, shed having side yard of 0.1 feet instead of required 2 feet, and not having required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Residence A District, east side of Anchorage Drive, approximately 524 feet south of Skipper Drive, West Islip.
Hi, good evening. Yes, we're looking for approval on that.
Can you please just state your name and address for the stenographer?
I'm sorry?
Can you give your name and address for the stenographer?
Oh, yeah, Darrell Payne, 95 Anchorage Drive, West Islip, New York. So my wife and I were putting a elevator in for our son who can't move upstairs anymore. And when we went through the permits for the town, we found out that the pool, the pavers, and the shed were not approved. So we are looking for approval on that due to medical hardship.
How long have they been there?
7 years,
Can you put them in?
yes. We actually flipped the pool. The pool is like an odd-shaped lake look, and when the pool company told us the codes, we actually flipped the pool so that we thought would be far enough from the fence, but I guess it still is too close. We weren't aware of it. We assumed that Done Right went through and got the permits. Didn't even think that we didn't have permits until we did this, we submitted the plans for the elevator.
And the elevator will be within the district.
Yes.
Where is the shed?
To the right side, the opposite, the south side of the, right next to the house there in the shade.
Can you move it back some?
I don't.
You're at the finish line.
Right, he's telling you the shed is the big issue, where it is. What is it used for?
To store the pool supplies.
Okay, well, it's all the way against the property line. What they're asking is, can you move it off or
From
where it is?
So that our code, how long has the shed been there?
same amount of time, 7 years.
So our code requires that the shed be 20 feet behind the front of the house. And that's not something that.
Yes, 1 second.
It's not on a concrete slab, no, got it from Home Depot, it's not, I don't think it's, no, it's not Rubbermaid, it's wood, they built it. They put it.
It's not like a drop.
It's gonna be about 18 feet. Oh, it is about 18 feet.
If you look at the addition to the proposal.
Yeah.
An
Well,
inch
it's
and 20
18
feet.
feet. Yeah, instead of 20. That's what zoning board is for.
That's a zoning board.
All right.
Anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? Any questions from the board? Take a motion for West Islip.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
The application's approved.
Thank you very much.
Application number 323-23, Kevin and Caitlin Murphy. Permission to leave 2 6-foot fences. Fence 1 having front yard of 3.9 feet instead of required 15 feet, and fence 2 having front yard of 7.3 feet instead of required 10 feet, and 2 air conditioning units having second front yard of 17 feet instead of required 20 feet. Residence B District, southwest corner of Victory Drive and Second Court, Ronkonkoma.
Hi, good evening, my name is Kevin Murphy, I live at 429 Victory Drive in Ronkonkoma. This is my wife Caitlin Murphy. We're here to speak to you on behalf of these 3 issues. We started about a year ago here, actually, we did a dormer extension and went through a variance hearing. And when we filed the final survey for as-built survey is when we came across these few issues. The fence was there prior to our variance hearing a year ago, and we put the AC units in the exact spot that they were in prior, and we haven't changed anything on the fence line. No. I spoke to the woman and when I applied for the variance, and she said that they might have missed it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The problem is rarely. Even as high as 11.5 by statute.
Oh, is the area 12,200 square feet? Pretty close on, that's the second front yard allowance. And it does have a pretty good setback. It's got 12 point something feet, right? So it's an unusual property. It actually has frontage on 3 roads.
Yes.
So the fence that we're talking about with this, that currently has a second front yard setback of 12 feet, right?
It's the first.
I'm sorry, it only has 7.
Baker Street.
I don't think it's paper, but it's very narrow. The survey indicates it's only 23-foot wide right-of-way. So the survey shows you right there, your survey, it's only a 23-foot wide right-of-way. It's a very narrow street. The houses across from you on First Street, do they front on First Street?
Yes, they do. So the one that's on the corner of Victory and First, on the west side of First, their front door faces my side yard.
Okay.
And I do also have, going towards the south section of my property, actually drops about a foot in the road wash off.
I'm sorry.
Right. So if we were to give a variance to the fence that runs along First Court and deny that off of Victory Drive, that would seem to be in the wrong. Because we normally are allowed to do that.
Because I think she could probably, is it close to 60 feet because of the lease.
The problem I have is I have a 100-pound dog that hopped over a 4-foot fence already. And we had the issue of about 7 in the morning. My wife was in the shower with my neighbor and their dog and my dog. And we're knocking saying, is this your dog? You just hopped the fence.
But
Yes.
the problem, we understand that, but we deal with this over and over and over again. We can't then set zoning standards up on the dog. In other words, your dog is like my dog, 12 pounds. I don't get it.
I understand.
That's our problem. We understand the problem. I mean, you could put arborvitae, you could put trees in front of it.
So my one comment to that is our fence line comes off the side of the garage on the west side of our house and comes towards the backyard and then moves towards the front of Victory. Then it then continues west and then bumps forward to that 3.9. And that 3.9 section, it's only about 2 sections of width, and then we also put a vision corner and a vision triangle for the corner so that people can see around their stop sign.
If you put those 2 sections back,
I might have to remove trees to do that too. That's another issue.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is we're giving you potentially, in my mind, a 6-foot fence along the First Court. That's a huge ask of the steep to rarely do that. We see the configuration of the land,
Yeah, it's tough.
but we're not overly jumping for joy for that along Victory Drive.
And my neighbor next to me on one further east, His house faces on the east side of Second. His house faces my other, I guess, front lawn. But he also has a 6-foot fence that wraps his whole lawn as well.
Is there any way you can bring the one off of Victory a little bit in?
I'd have to look if I was at home. I'd have to actually visually inspect to see how far the trees are off the fence. There's a tree that's pretty hooked onto the fence at the moment right now.
Let me ask you a question. It looks like I can see it here, between Victory Drive and that fence that we're- it's like a street from the road, right?
On an overview, yes. On street level, no, there's nothing there. I'm pretty sure as per the variance, it was 3.9 feet off the street.
No, his question was how far did the edge of pavement from your property line? It looks like about an additional 3 feet, and it's actually shown on the survey.
Sorry.
I mean, not like this is what kind of deal, but real and your final comment.
I appreciate it. What would you be?
So, how to compare it?
I appreciate that. What would you be willing to?
How do you come out from a violation, you come out?
No. So what happened was about a year and a half ago, we tried to start a dormer extension on our house because we had a second child. And what happened was we came for a variance hearing for the rear of the lot was supposed to be 25 feet setback for the addition, and it's only 23.5, I believe it was, or something like that. So we came here for that, and it was missed on that variance.
I looked at the survey, and this is almost what the picture made, that if you ran that straight across, you know what I mean, the shots out of the picture.
Yeah.
If you ran it straight across, whatever that distance is, you should not within code of limits. I mean, this is one of those situations where there's something very easily you do. Just run the fence straight along, not that somebody in the job is out.
Yeah.
Ran it from where it is straight back to the principal, parallel, meet up with the fence. I don't see how.
The only thing I have a problem with that is there's trees in that area that I may have to remove, which is going to be a costly tale on that. And
Yeah, but you can't make a line and
not a
have
dead
trees on the other
straight line,
side?
there's trees right in that
It's
area.
that dense.
Yeah. There's good sized trees in that area. There's a oak that's probably about 3 feet wide.
It'd be easy if we had photographs. I don't know if you have any photographs.
I might have a photograph for me. No, not at the moment. I'm here at your disposal.
Yeah, you can just like that for 100 years.
That was an old photo before, when we first purchased the house in 2015. The fence was a 4-foot chain link fence. When we moved in, we had the issue with our dog soon after, and we changed it to a 6-foot. It's been there for about 7 years, the 6-foot.
So what we're talking about is the leg that you're thinking that comes from your house westward toward the corner of First. It is also not compliant because it only has about a 12-foot setback. So it's not just the section that has the 3.9 that doesn't comply with the 15. It's also the section east of that, that goes closer to the house.
It wasn't, okay.
It's not dimensioned by the surveyor because it's not the closest point.
why we're thinking run across that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Again, we're using this piece of variance on first. Just like, looking at, there's two sections of it, three on the whole cross on Victory.
It would be setting a section and a half back and then 2 sections just straight across.
Yeah, you have to have everything back, you can say 12 feet, please, on this line, you got back here.
Yes.
Okay.
Just give me a minute to just talk to her for a second.
I make a motion to reserve.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
There's a motion to first reserve decision, we can talk about it ourselves.
And we'll make a decision, or we will vote.
Okay. Now, the only question I have is, I was told when I applied for this variance that my building permit expired in March. And they told me since I was in a variance hearing that I would be okay to sit and wait. Do I have to apply for another building permit or extension on mine?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I'm up to code everything else. I don't want
You have a problem.
No, please don't. No, you're good. You won't have a problem.
Call Billy.
to, that's, yeah, it's fine. I'm okay.
Concept of 12-foot setback is.
I would accept that if that was the best case scenario.
All right, so we've got a motion to reserve decision. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the decision's been reserved.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Application number 324-23, Jose and Ana Aravallo. Is anybody here on that application? We have a request to hear this later in the evening. Oh, we do have somebody on it. Okay. Jose and Ana Aravallo. Okay.
Are you the applicant, sir?
See Jose.
She doesn't, she's not going to.
So you're saying you didn't know anything about this?
Sir, what is your name?
So I think you probably rejected. That's not you. That's not you. Okay. That's the property they're talking about. So if you don't have a problem with what they're doing, you don't have to be here.
What's his address?
Right.
So, yeah, he got notice. He's the adjacent property owner.
Do you have any problems with the application that they, Jose and Ana Alvarado?
No, I don't even know them.
Yeah, we're gonna have a hearing on it later. If you want, you can stay, but you don't have to. You have no objection to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Application number 325-23, Patricia Rodriguez Carias, Ruby Carias, and Jocelyn Carias. Permission to leave detached garage 12 by 16, having side yard of 3.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, and gazebo having rear yard of 3.1 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, south side of Ash Street, 100 feet east of Lowell Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. We're here tonight to leave a detached garage and a gazebo. The garage is small, it's a 12 by 16, 192 square feet, and has a side yard of 3.5 instead of 4. No rear yard being requested. And the gazebo has a rear yard of 3.1 feet instead of 4 feet, no side yard being requested.
From the board on this?
Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? All in favor?
Aye.
Application
Thank you.
Application number 326-23, Cruz Perez Hernandez and Ramon Saravia Garcia. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Issotown Code Section 68-602 to leave two entrance platforms having side yards of 10.7 feet and 9.9 feet instead of required 14 feet each. Roofed over cellar entrance having side yard of 13.9 feet instead of required 14 feet. And driveway on-side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, north side of Merrill Street, 525 feet east of Nimitz Avenue, Brentwood.
Good evening again. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. We're here tonight to establish an accessory apartment. The apartment is 800 square feet. The dwelling is owner occupied. The driveway has been denied by engineering, but it is able to be modified. Right now, as it currently exists, it's too small. But as per engineering's recommendations, we will be enlarging it to the left side. The driveway, as it exists, is also requesting a variance. It is on the property line instead of the required 4 feet. We're also here for a roof over cellar entrance, which is very minimal, 13.9 instead of 14. And then we have the two entrance platforms. The one on the west side of the dwelling is 10.7 feet instead of 14 feet required. The house on that side of the property only maintains a 13.7, so anything that the property owner did there would happen to require a variance. It's only for the platform, which is 3 feet by the town and state code. And then on the east side of the dwelling, we have a entrance as well that has a 9.9 foot instead of 14 feet required. Again, that side of the property only maintains 13.9. So anything done there would also require a variance. And again, it's only for the platform that's 3 feet based on the codes.
It is with the exception of the driveway, and the applicant's representative has testified that the driveway will be modified to comply. So if the board sees fit to grant the application, you would do so requiring final engineering approval of the driveway.
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Anybody else would like to be heard on this application?
Motion to grant the application for the accessory apartment for a period of 3 years and the balance of the application subject to engineering.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Application number 327-23, adjourned from January 10, 2023. Arturo Gonzalez Pilares. Permission to leave expanded two-story dwelling having front yard of 11.8 feet, roofed over entrance having front yard of 7.8 feet instead of required 25 feet each. Side yards of 5.8 feet and 6.1 feet instead of required 14 feet each. Total side yards of 11.9 feet instead of required 28 feet. Leaving floor area ratio of 36.06% instead of permitted 25%. To leave two egress windows having side yards of 3 feet and 3.75 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 11 feet each. To leave driveway on side property line encroaching onto adjacent property, not having required setback of 4 feet, and shed having side yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, south side of Clift Street, 200 feet east of Cordello Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. I'm going to go item by item. I think it's the easiest way with this application. So the first being the two-story dwelling having a front yard of 11.8 feet and the roof over the front entrance having a front yard of 7.8 feet instead of the required 25 feet.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you with that? I know this is general, and I believe the issue, the whole issue was the FAR, which is 36.06. I thought, when we served, there was some sort of discussion either, and if
So the FAR was the issue. We were able to present some precedent in the area. And the reason it was adjourned was to see a radius map to see how close all of the precedent really existed to this property.
So what do you have, 36.06?
Correct. So the only precedent that was before the board within the 200 feet was granted at 34.7%. So when we did the calculations for the FAR, because the lot is 60 by 100, an FAR of 25% would be a 1,500 square foot home. Right now, as the home exists, it's 2,100 square feet. So we're about 600 square feet over. If we were to look at the way the house was built, it was built almost the same dimension. So the house itself never had a CO, and the applications from 2007 show a very similar footprint, just a minor addition to it.
I
So
guess let me just ask you, is it still a 30.06? 36.06.
right now, the way the dwelling exists, it's still at 36. They're trying to figure out with an architect, but they would have to literally reconstruct, like take down a piece of their home. They bought this house
We can't-
without knowing.
We can't grant 36%. Just can't happen. So I thought the matter was adjourned to see what you could do to reiterate that number, and nothing changed.
The only other option that I gave them was to possibly work with the architect to reconstruct it and see if they could bring it down to the 34.7.
But I don't even know if 34.7 is the one. I don't know if it makes comparative measurable. That may be a one-off, it makes comparative measurable.
So there are more homes that have a high FAR. A lot of these plots are very small. They're all undersized. They're 50-foot lots, 60-foot lots. But they were CO'd. They were CO'd prior to the FAR.
What approvals do you have in one of the regulars that are near your number? We know there's 34.7, what's the next?
The other houses existed that way. That's the way they were built. So there's no FAR approval on file with the town. This one has an approval because it was CO'd again in 2013.
Is there a CO which is not as weight, let's say, as a variance approval for FAR? Is there a CO approval for houses in the 36%? CO.
Yes, there is. So if we look right next door at 230 Cliff, it's also a 50 by 100 lot, and the dimensions for the dwelling are the same, 24 by 48
On the CO.
on the CO. 250 Cliff Street, the dimensions of the dwelling, 34 by 57. 270 Cliff Street, dwelling is 28 by 43.
You have the CO with you?
I do,
Can you submit them into the record, and I feel we still be to reserve?
yes.
And then we can look at them, can we discuss this? Because while it's not precedent per se, it can be by law, it can be evidence or something to be
Yes. I can absolutely.
Do you have anything on it?
So the 34 isn't, don't think the best concept, but there's allowed regulations. There are two other grants that were listed through minus 35%. It's noted that therefore just adding one, but because it just added one, for existing right over 5% that is fresh area, we don't have to get rid of 50%.
Right. So is it, but it's still legal.
Yes.
We know when the grant is
So they're
okay.
probably that they're already getting this is kind of going along this line, but it's not really possible. But I can show more than our license.
Do you believe that, but you have how many times or what's this?
you're saying?
That could be comparable to this lot because the house never had a CO, and when they applied for a CO for the main dwelling itself, if you look at the dimensions of it from 2007 to today, it has been reconstructed, but a small portion that could be likened to a dormer.
You indicated it's CO.
I have some of them. I'd like to find the COs that she's referencing as well and put it together in a whole package for you, if that's okay, and submit it within a
Yeah.
week.
Give us a posting submission. How long do you need?
2 weeks is fine.
I would advise that you really take a little more.
Okay. Thank you.
To be seasoned in this.
Fatherly advice. I'm probably older than him.
Is there anyone else here that'd like to be heard on this application? No, any other questions?
Make a motion to serve.
Second.
All in favor? Susan, you're gonna submit some, additional notes.
No, we just presented this one.
Application number 328-23, Eric and Natasha Pajoli. Permission to install above-ground pool leaving rear yard of 4 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence B District, north side of Wavecrest Avenue, 100 feet east of Birch Street, West Islip.
Good evening, Chairman and fellow board members. My name is Natasha Pajoli, and I live at 39 Waycrest Avenue, West Islip, New York, 11795. And I'm here to request a pool to be erected closer to the rear fence line. Our property sits parallel to the West Islip Fire Department parking lot. It's their secondary parking lot, not their main one where they're,
Seems as though it would bother everybody.
no, they have like big bins in that parking lot and they keep like their fancy truck that they do parades with. And it's pretty far actually from where it's parked to our house, so.
Any questions? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application?
Aye.
Application's granted.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 329-23, Adults and Children with Learning and Developmental Disabilities, Inc., and East Coast Imperial Properties, LLC. Permission to subdivide lot leaving two-story dwelling on lot having side yards of 4.2 feet and 7.7 feet instead of required 14 feet each, to erect one-story addition 32.8 by 8.5, leaving side yard of 4.1 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 11.8 feet instead of required 28 feet, to expand driveway, leaving front yard occupancy of 43.78% instead of permitted 40%, and to install walkway, leaving side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Hyman Avenue, 1.3 feet north of Sunrise Highway, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, adults and children with learning disabilities, John Farrell with the firm of Son, Lord, Braff, and Koblenz. Our offices are at 1300 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite 100, Hop Hog, New York. ACLD supports the needs of individuals with autism, learning, and developmental disabilities and their families. Their mission is to provide opportunities for children and adults with disabilities to increase their independence and improve their quality of life. The home that is the subject of this application was acquired several years ago by ACLD with the idea of putting it in their supervised individual resident alternative program, which provides 24-hour supervised living opportunities for individuals and with disabilities. They're provided with structured daily living living support and which enhances their growth and development. When when they purchased the property, they filed applications to do renovations, to do some modest expansion of the home. And at that time, they were informed by the town that the property was illegally subdivided. It was an illegal front-to-back split by the prior owner. They had no knowledge of this situation when they purchased the property. There was a tax lot, and these issues did not come up when they acquired it.
How did one not have knowledge of an illegal subdivision? Did they do a title search?
They did a title search. It was not raised in the title search. The meets and bounds there was a recorded deed. The deeds were recorded, and the lots were apportioned within Suffolk County. So they created two new tax lots. This was originally tax lot 6, and now it is tax lot 6.1 and 6.2.
Did anybody review anything to see that towards the 14?
County amended the tax map.
Well, they remember.
Correct. And
But if there was an illegal subdivision, not by your client, by somebody else, why should there be a reward down the road?
well, I'm not suggesting that there should be a reward, but I think this case on its merits warrants a subdivision anyway, since the lots are essentially conforming to the zoning.
4.2, side yard instead of 14?
Yes, but this is a front-to-back split. It's not a side-to-side split.
So those side yards are existing.
The side yards are existing. The side yards are
The
CO'd.
issue question, the lot size as it is, the new lot size, let's say it conforms.
Yes, it's 11,250 square feet on the nose. The property to the rear is a little smaller, but by virtue of this subdivision, it will be combined with the lots to the west and the two lots to the south, which will make it an oversized parcel.
So the vacant lot's gonna merge with the lot to the south, and that into the narrow strip to the west, right?
So if I can just-
Yeah, it's a little confusing the way it's explained. This is where the house is. This is lot. This lot, and now we combine this lot, and which you were talking about it earlier.
That would be up to the other property owners, including through property ownerships.
Well, would there be any other variances sought on the new building?
No. The house,
There was no new
Other
building.
than, for the subject, other than the area, the structure. presently.
right, the other lots do not have any structures on them at this point.
There will be a structure erected on this property.
We don't know.
Not by this application. This application is strictly for the lot that's highlighted in blue to legalize that dwelling on, well,
Mr. Farrell, let me ask you a question. Let's say you scratch the whole subdivision application, and this was a vacant piece of land, and yet your client came in, owning the whole piece, right? Not piece to the south or not to the west, just the illegally subdivided land.
Yep.
And they sought to build that same house. This is basically the exact relief they would need, right?
correct,
So the subdivision that you're requesting really triggers no further variance.
correct.
It's just, you know,
Yes, exactly, exactly.
and that subdivision does not cause any variances.
The subdivision does not cause any variances. There are two additional variances that are necessary by virtue of the use, which may have been required, even if separate and apart from the subdivision. So we have a variance for lot coverage, front yard lot coverage for the parking area, and for a reduced north side yard setback from 4 feet to 1.5 feet for a grade level, basically patio that goes around the back of the house.
But again, not triggered by the subdivision, triggered
Correct.
by construction. That's not-
That hasn't been done yet, but yeah.
I thought that was the, okay.
Yeah.
I'm missing something. Mr. Farrell, why is your applicant seeking subdivision? Something already built there?
This is the property is illegally subdivided. The two lots were sold to different owners.
Okay, wait, two lots, this lot and this lot?
No, to the left.
Is there-
Well,
And your property, your client owns this property here?
No.
They don't- It's my client owns my power plant.
Certainly. This lot here is owned by my client. That is where the construction will be taking place.
There's
This
nothing there
lot,
now.
this lot, and this lot are all in common ownership.
Nothing to do with your client.
Nothing to do with my
So
client.
your client just wants to build over here?
I'm sorry.
Just wants to build over here?
He just wants to put a small front addition on his lot. And a parking area in front, a patio with all around.
And he would need those same variances or your client did, say, would need those variances regardless of whether this property was legally subdivided or not, if the whole thing, still need the same variance, right?
Correct,
Subdivision triggered, no variances.
correct, 100%. Overall, this is a relatively simple application. The two front additions are going to provide a little bit more space on the first floor to provide one additional bedroom and to expand what would be the common living area, which is the kitchen, dining room, and living room area. There'd be 4 bedrooms on the north side of the dwelling here. They're on the second floor. The other 2 bedrooms are in the front of the house. There'll be 2 handicapped accessible bathrooms on the first floor. And basement, there's a basement in the house that I believe is for storage and for a laundry room.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application?
You know, I don't know. Don't know.
Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Application number 330-23, E&E Homebuyer Corp. Permission to leave reconstructed one-story dwelling on lot having width of 62.5 feet instead of required 75 feet, having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 14 feet, and rear yard of 0.9 feet instead of required 25 feet. Residence B District, east side of Peters Boulevard, 75 feet north of St. John Street, Central Islip.
Good evening, Board. We are here in regards to our house on 26
Excuse me,
Peters
could you just
Boulevard.
give your name and address?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm Erica Schacht, and we're here for 26 Peters Boulevard in Central Islip.
But that's not your address.
Oh,
Sir, can you give me?
Edwin Bella.
we're here in regards to the, do you want me to address again? 26 Peters Boulevard?
No, not that, not the property.
okay.
He asked
Your address, ma'am.
your address.
My home address?
Yeah, oh, that's what the chairman asked you for, you.
Oh, well, I currently live at 83 Shady Lane in Westbury, New York. And
773 Prospect Street, Baldwin, New York.
this house was purchased for me, though, and he was helping me purchase this house. So we came and purchased this house, and basically, this is the existing house that was there. So where it is located was, we went to go fix the house, we went to clean it out, and the whole thing was basically collapsing and rotting. So that is how we kind of came into this situation where we were reconstructing what it currently was and where it is located, hence the location of it being on so close to the line. Oh, no, we own the house. We own the house. We're just fixing the house. It was supposed to be a small renovation, and once we came in, cleaned it, the whole thing was rot, basically. There were squatters. We had to get them out. We had squatters a couple times. Had to get them out. Yes, I plan on living there. Yeah.
So you're moving from Westbury to Central Islip?
Correct. Yes, I currently live home in
I live in a 55 up community. I live with my parents. So this was the house for me.
So you bought the house, said it was in bad condition.
Correct.
You raised it and rebuilt it.
No, we didn't raise the house.
What'd you do?
No, the house was extended. I extended the house, kept the current foundation. It was a very small little house.
Okay, I'm just sorry, where did you live?
On the side.
Oh, on the side.
We extend it on the side.
We extended it to, do you want to come up?
Whatever you mark where you mark where you I mean, you're not-
Sure. Yeah, we own the house. We own this house, in 2020,
But you make it, I mean, you're
August.
looking at-
Yeah.
You're looking at ridiculously close building property lines.
That was the existing house. Correct. So that was the existing foundation. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. Sure.
So, what we're saying is, the 1 foot is 7 foot, and 9 is 7.5 is there, when you bought it.
Correct.
So what happened, you were looking at the plan
The extension other side. We,
It was currently, originally it was a 2-bedroom house, very tiny. So we did an extension to the left side of the property. And the foundation that was there was existing, so we just actually did a foundation to the other side, to the inside of the property. But everything was rotten, so it was considered a new construction after that, because everything was completely redone, all the plywood. Yes, the extension is
Not
done
done,
already,
yeah,
but
okay.
it's not closed up yet. It's pretty much there.
without benefit of the public.
We submitted the permits and we started cleaning it out, and it actually collapsed on the side, on one of the sides. And there was a shed where it was housing a few squatters. And we also went and actually removed the shed because there was a lot of people from the neighbors complaining about the squatters that were there. We had to go there with the police all the time to get them out.
It's not a CO, so it's very likely that it is separate because it has a CO for this lot size. Take a look at this. Believe it or not, in 1978, there was a variance granted for a small addition to the house with a lot side yard of 1.95. And you have that decision here.
No.
Inside.
Is there an expedition on the plan that when, what?
It's a very small addition, just a corner touches.
Which one?
Right there, after the closest point, right where you're just pointing.
That's at the side, yard, not the rear.
that,
Right, no, I get that. My question is how is the house built with two 1 foot side yards? The original side yard on the block of it, so
The CO makes reference to an addition being put onto the house in 1950. So that means the
Yeah.
house clearly predated 50. Actually, the CO, which I think has been passed to you now, probably has the circa construction date. But I think the point is that the applicants are telling you is it came down, right?
Yes, it was collapsing.
it was
It was all rough.
yeah. It was the existing.
Yep. It looked like by its location that it was a cottage in the back of the property.
Probably.
the other side.
Correct.
It's measuring F1, maybe your siding was a little bigger than the siding on the old house.
I'm sorry?
Right.
I mean, it's existing the same way that it is. We didn't touch the foundation.
We didn't touch the foundation.
That little pool. I think we could chalk that one up to the survey.
So say again what happened with the building permit? You applied for it?
We
but-
applied for it, yeah.
But it was an issue.
It was an issue because of the setback. We didn't have enough room to actually build it, so that they sent us.
Yeah, he did it.
No, I have no problem.
Anybody else here like to be heard on this application? Please let them stand up.
Good evening. My name is Louis Alcantara. I live at 11 Bridger Boulevard, Central Islip.
Any relation to the property or?
My house is the house that's adjacent to the rear of the house, the one that's 10 inches away. Their fence, my fence is literally now 10 inches away from their house. I have pictures that I took of the house today. The house has been there with plywood. It's not even fully sealed up for the last 18 months. They came in, they started building, and then they built this giant addition, which is another addition, which nobody can even make sense of. And without regard, without respect to any of the neighbors, they came in, and now we have this eyesore to deal with. There are raccoons living in it. And the whole thing is that it's just too close. If they have 10 inches from my fence, and if you look at it, a foot is actually generous on the side. They don't have that. It's supposed to, oh, I don't need it back. I live there.
I can't see.
Oh, that's no problem. Can I approach or?
No.
Jay's
We
got
have
it.
we have some tenuous stairs, let's say. So,
That's okay.
Let me ask you,
Yes, sir.
you probably heard my question up front. But that's existing.
It was existing. I've lived there since 1972. No, a little after you. 1972. So I was a boy. I've lived there over 50 years. Okay, there used to be a small cottage there. They even had a barn in the back where they had a horse. Okay.
But my question is, so we understand, what is taking the 10 inches or 1 foot that's been there, buildings is currently left there?
That hasn't been, because what they did was they extended it backwards. They extended it back towards the fence. Now what you have instead, what used to be there was a small cottage. That cottage was set back from the fence.
Okay, let me just understand, again, this is why it's good that people show up to the warrant. I am under the understanding that the 1 foot and the 0.9 foot is pre-existing. You're saying it wasn't?
I'm saying it wasn't. I'm saying the side yard, the 1 foot may have been pre-existing.
Okay, let me just ask you, I have. Which is this we're talking about right here?
Let me,
Where is, is it right here? So once we show it, please.
All right. Star Wars.
So are you saying that you
looking at a completion survey that looks like it shows it right on the, just so you know, what we're looking at. We're looking at a survey from 1978. And it shows, here, it shows right here. Dave, I'm sorry. Look at this survey from 1978, and it shows the survey. It shows that a footprint property. Yeah. I'm looking back. I'm both. Okay, look at the fence, look at the property line, and you see how close it is to the foot. How much less than a foot? Okay, so let's say it's 2 inches. It moves back to 50 size.
Or it could be off the fence, it could be off.
What I'm trying to, what we're trying to understand is, it's not as though it was 10 feet away, and they moved it now a foot away. What it looks like to get them to show them, that's why we do it. It looks like in the survey of 1978, it was a foot away, and now you're saying, no, it's 10 inches away. So it's only about 2 inches. I don't think they moved the foundation to 2 inches. My opinion is the fence or the size of something, but who moved the foundation to 2 inches? Okay, I don't think they were.
Goes at 78.
I don't think they, again, we'll find out. I don't think they would totally destroy the foundation to build a new one 2 inches away.
Let me show this one.
Okay, it's interesting, but if you look at this, it seems like some of the fence actually, when they put the fence, some of it may actually be on their property. On the applicant's property, it seems like it's a straight over, they have built, what you may be seeing is a loss of 2 inches, may actually be that they built the property, the fence, the fence up 2 inches into their property line. Yes. There's another one. The way that I see this is the vinyl fence running across the property line, and there's a chain link fence running inside of that, right? It's hard to tell on the survey that. On their, inside their property line, yes. I can't see somebody building and doing that.
And it's the other foot, so you can't, it's the first time I've ever heard somebody totally demolishing the foundation and moving the two foot. People, when they do that, they move a 10 foot phone. That's the issue. But you see,
Or they didn't actually,
they didn't have to, it's CO. If the CO was recreated, what happens here is zoning change of anticipation, 1935. Prior to zoning, you should build a house in grade 1, like you could build it on the property line. And that's what whoever built this in 1998, no zoning, they built it on foot from the property line, and we give it CO. And that's the property line, you can't take that away. That's constantly a taken. So if you're wrong, it's not. Well, no, it's right when it was built.
grandfather,
It's grandfather. So, let's say they change the requirements to get into the school and record. They can't take away the, hey, I had no requirements and I got it. You can't take away that property. You can never take it together. So the CEO, who was built in 1998, was water. Building 8 years later, zoning starts to come in, problem with 50. That is there over 50 years. We can't take how much there we can. And I can say, but I'm guaranteeing you nobody put down an entire foundation. I didn't say.
So I can continue to your problem. No, that's it. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, we have time.
long as we continue to get rid of this, we'll
That's in South Order, it's kind of up that still. That's in South Construction, but also permanent. Yeah.
What's that, before you leave, what year is the area? And what year was that? Right, right. What else have you got? Go back to look at all the undeveloped lots. Yeah, even in 1938, this was something there.
My house was there, 1910.
1910. And you know what? We could, nobody could really move it. It's ICL. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? Please come on.
Good evening, Susan Pellegrino, 85 Deer Path Road, Central Islip. So it's in very, like, 4 miles away. It has nothing to do with the proximity of it. It just has to do with the variance, which, and I'm here also representing the Central Islip Coalition of Good Neighbors, and we kind of try to keep an eye on these variances, and there seem to be a lot of people in Central Islip who build without permits and ask for variances later. I understand that whole process, but this seems, from what you said about the CO, I understand that, but according to what is listed on the ZBA agenda, it says that, you know, there's a required 1 foot instead of 14 feet and rear yard of 0.9 feet instead of required 25 feet. And that's really what seems very egregious, is that, you know, if the CO supersedes everything, then I don't know why that information is given out. Like, I'm just confused about that.
Because they took it down. So they're needing to reinstate the variances. That's why the width of lot is actually in the call of the meeting. They have to ask for permission to leave this reconstructed dwelling.
Okay, but I'm still.
So the board is, speaking of the CO having been there,
Mhm.
the board is obviously weighing that.
Mhm.
The applicants are telling the board that it fell down while they were reconstructing it. So the building department views that as permission to erect a dwelling. But in this case, it's there already, so it's permission to leave a new dwelling.
Yeah, it just, I mean, this does seem like, you know, 25 feet, I mean, a foot rear yard just seems very unfair to, you know, to the neighbors, and it also just seems like a very significant variance for a backyard, so.
Can I ask you a question now?
Sure.
Were any of the neighbors alive and running the premises before 1895, 1898?
I'm not sure where you're going with that.
They knew it was there when they bought.
Right.
So how's it?
Well, I mean, it just is as giving a variance of that. Again, I'm just reading from this. I have more knowledge now than I did when I read this.
All the meetings misleading, I understand that.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it didn't fall down, they wouldn't need it. That's what they're saying.
okay.
And just one more thing, going back, where they're seeking the variance is not in what's called the trouble area, it's the other side.
Well, the new construction variance, it's on the other side.
So, and we get these all the time, let's say you have a home, it's a family home, and it was built, it had a CO, and you look before the code, and it's close to the property line. Got a CO, nothing anybody can do, would want to do. Let's say the house had a fire, and we said, just want to rebuild it, we have. We'd always allow that because it was there. That's all they want, is to rebuild what was there. They're not moving any closer. I know the gentleman thinks it's coincidence, but it just, I think it's not. They're looking for the variance on the other side, which has nothing to do. On the width, right. But that's not the trouble there.
Again, like I said, I have more knowledge now about, but From there, from this, it doesn't give all the information that was
Paul is a little
I
misleading.
agree.
Gleaned.
with Paul- Paul's mistake.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard?
Hi, Debbie Kavanaugh, 21 Walnut Street, Central Islip, New York. Kavanaugh. I'm the president of the Central Islip Coalition. From what I'm understanding from what your conversation is saying, the back part of the cottage was pre-existent, and the new part is the front part. Well, the new part, that is the front part, and since it's being built towards the side part of the building is now kind of infringing on the privacy rights of the neighbors next door. I think that's what some of us were thinking and saying.
They're not looking for a variance for that side yard.
Okay, but isn't that the new part of the building that wasn't there previous, because that wasn't part of the cottage?
The variance that they're requesting is for the lot width and then to the side yard that was previously there and rear yard that was previously there.
Okay, we're just concerned as an organization that people start following the rules and do things the right way, because in Central Islip, we tend to have people come in, they start building homes, they don't have proper permits, then they tend to subdivide houses. I'm very happy to see that you're moving in and not subdividing the house, and we get nothing but squatters, and not squatters, bunk housing, with a whole bunch of illegal immigrants, 4 or 5 families living in a house. And that is a major concern to the community when people start buying and moving into Central Islip, when they're building and they're not getting permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard of this application? No? No questions for the applicants?
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Wait, just, Jordan, or council, can you please just make sure it's referenced frequently and often in the decision, so in the future that this can't be used as precedent against the circumstances of home security?
You got it.
Thank you.
And it was previously CO.
Good. Can we get back to work
Application's
now?
been granted tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good
I
night.
don't know what that was. Might be a gunshot. Yeah.
Yeah. You can be flipping up the surveys and start asking questions. Okay, we're just going to take 2 cases out of order, because one is going to just appear to request an adjournment, if that's okay with the board. So I'm going to go to the last page, application number 337-20, East Lighthouse Realty Corp. Permission to install second-story addition and erect second-story decking, resulting in floor area ratio of 53.8% instead of permitted 30%, and to erect first-floor decking, leaving side yard 9 feet instead of required 15 feet. Residence BAA District, west side of East Lighthouse Walk, 240 feet south of Cedar Court, Kisney.
Good evening, members of the board. Tom LaCarrie, 127 West Main Street, East Islip. I have just been engaged on this as of Sunday. I do need some time to prepare. I have contacted some of the neighbors that I know had concerns. I believe it's in the interest of our community that I sit down with these neighbors, perhaps rework the plans as necessary, and to get a better understanding of what my client is doing or wants to do, as well as the precedence that exists. So I would ask for reasonably
How about
near
June,
date.
how about June 20th? June 6th is not.
You know, I'm having a grandchild around the 20th. I'm going to be up in Massachusetts.
You're having a grandchild.
My second,
The problem with
another beach baby.
the next hearing, 2 weeks from tonight, is we won't get the chance to re-advertise it, should you.
So we'll go past June 20th.
And then I think that June 6th is not acceptable possibly to, if you think June 6th is fine,
June,
that's,
I could do June 6th if that's okay with the board.
yes, it's fine. There's other Kismet applications on the same night.
We'll have a lot of fun here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Adjourn to
much.
June 6th.
June 6th, thank you.
And
Yes, I would like to speak on that behalf in case I can't make the next hearing. My name is Sal Romanillo. I reside at 21 West Lighthouse Walk. which is the southwest corner of the property in question.
He would like to
Are you ready to consider testimony opposition?
Yes,
If our operating procedure, we first have to hear the applicant,
right,
so it would be unfair for the applicant to give the second stage and give the application.
right. I'm just basing my response to what was advertised in terms of the variance that they're seeking. One at a time, please.
You read a letter there,
I can write a letter.
and how long you think that,
Okay,
if you want to look at it, that but we can't hear the opposition. What we hear.
oh, clearly, I was just, got the notice, I didn't know there was going to be an adjournment, and now we're talking about a date that I may not be able to attend, so
Is there a better one for you?
I believe June 20th is better for me, not early in the month.
Well,
I heard June 20th, I don't,
you did, but then you heard him say that there's baby coming that day.
Okay, how about the week after, 2 weeks after?
July 11, July 18. The July 4th is a Tuesday, so.
yeah, let's say July 18th.
July 18th, Mr. Gary?
I would prefer to keep it in as early as possible in June. I will be happy to meet with Sal down at the beach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't want to go through another summer again.
Well, we try to accommodate.
Yeah.
Everybody can. We're a lot of
Well, if we do June 20th, and I happen to have a baby coming that day or day after, I would be asking for another adjournment. This time I had notified the two people I know that had concerns.
July 11th.
You want to do June 6th? You don't want to do June 6th?
So how about July 11th?
Okay,
This way we accommodate everyone.
July 11th it is.
All right, so we got an adjournment?
July 11th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion and second.
I'm gonna get the babies out, 6 weeks in advance, exactly what day. Never worked out for me that way.
Now we're just going to keep out of order just to let somebody who's waiting since the beginning to the bottom of page 3. Application number 336-23, Vincent Rubio and Jose Rubio. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Essex Town Code, Section 68-602. Residence B District, west side of Applegate Drive, 737.45 feet south of Long Island Motor Parkway, Central Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. And we're here tonight to establish an accessory apartment. The dwelling is owner occupied. The driveway has been approved by engineering and the apartment is 715 square feet.
Did engineering ultimately approve the driveway?
They did.
Oh, okay, very good. In the beginning, they hadn't. Okay.
Anyone else like to be heard in this application?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Top of page 3. Application number 141-23, adjourned from February 28, 2023. Jennifer Specchio. Permission to erect dwelling on lot having wetlands yield of 0.6954 instead of required 1, on lot having area of 30,229 square feet with an effective lot area of 28,825 square feet instead of required 40,000 square feet, leaving total side yards of 52.5 feet instead of required 60 feet, to install staircase enclosure leaving height of 40.5 feet instead of permitted 35 feet, all having floor area ratio of 27.78%, effective floor area ratio of 29.03%, instead of permitted 25%, and to install driveway leaving front yard occupancy of 41.5% instead of permitted 40%. Residence AAA District, 278 Custer, south side of the Helm, 1,409 feet southeast of the Moor, East Islip.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for hearing me this evening. My name is David Bush, registered architect, address at 90 West Main Street, Bay Shore, New York. I'm here on behalf of the owner, Jennifer Specchio. It was adjourned substantially because of the FAR request. In the original request, there was an effective lot area request of 35.5%, and a lot area request of 33.89%. So we have gone back, we've certainly taken the advice of the board. We looked at some precedent, we looked at some floor area ratios, some floor plans, redesign, et cetera. And as well, I have worked with the zoning department and planning department through conversation with those. So as stated in the call, there's several points. The property is at 159 The Helm, East Islip. It's a AAA zoning. The lot that we're looking at here is part of a 1964 subdivision. And the house, it's an existing approved lot. The C of O for the prior improvement is dated 1974. What's proposed here is removal of the existing house and construction of a new two-story residence. There's several points within the call, and the drawings that we should be looking at, which I just handed out, which were previously submitted to the board, are dated April 21st, 2023. Within that package, there's two floor plans, a site plan of area calculations, some revised plans and elevations, and 4 site diagrams to assist our discussion. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So if we took a look at the zoning code in the AAA, it talks about 35 feet or 2.5 stories for the principal building structure, right? On drawing, I think it's A1.0. I'm sorry, A1.1. We have some of the floor plans and elevations of the building. And if we look in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a little zoning diagram. And I did discuss this with the zoning department. We see that the primary roof structure is actually at 30 foot 6 inches. It's a flat roof construction. Then it has a roof parapet, which is at 34 foot 6. So the primary building and structure is within the setback allowance. What gains height is actually a bulkhead, if you will. It's a bulkhead, provide access up to the roof. It allows walk-up access to the roof. It is an occupied roof deck, yes. Yes, yes. And there'll be additionally, it is an occupied roof deck as well as mechanical systems, things like that for access. Well, it's an interesting point, and I do appreciate the request. So as I pointed out, the primary structure, which is typically part of the call, is within the setback allowance. Often what's not recognized in those calls are the appointments or the building, the embellishments, the architectural embellishments. So I do not have the actual calls to these, but I have 2 properties that I can offer as with photographs. One is 30 The Moor, and mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, so. Well, yeah. So. Yep, understood. And relative to neighbors, we do have, the owners are very, very involved in the local community. They have reviewed the plans and elevations and proposal with community members. I do have here with us for the board 4 letters in favor of the application, in support of the application, as drawn and as submitted. Those are the immediate surrounding neighbors, which are kind of most impacted by it. Secondly, if we look at the drawing A1.1, and we look at that, there's a top perspective and then a middle perspective. It's the northwest perspective. That actually gives you a view of the residence from the street, where you can see that bulkhead kind of falls to the back. It is not obtrusive or at the front of the building. It falls within the roof line. So if we imagine that perspective line of sight, again, it falls away. So
Still can't get my head around why are we, what should be granted? I didn't think we wanted, but you're not competitive. Everybody else wants. Why should we grant it when that's what they want? Everybody else can build a home and keep it at 35 feet. I mean, you know,
yeah. And I just, and I appreciate the point. I appreciate the primary structures at 35 foot. Again, but if we look at the community, there are volumes which actually come up above that. And I do appreciate the call. If I was able to work it out, that I can bring it below 40 feet. If I can bring that below 40 feet, again, that. Would we be able to work it at 39.6? There is no roof deck that's above the height. There is no roof deck. There's no structure or parapet that's above the allowable height. It's actually just the top of the stair, the roof over the stair to weather protect the stair.
It's enclosed on all sides?
It's enclosed on all sides.
So what's the dimensions of?
The dimensions that are approximately 11 foot by 25 foot. People are standing at 30 foot 6. Correct. It's really to weather protect the interior of the house because it occurs within the envelope of the house. Again, so it's not a massing element on the outside of the house, which would be more vertical impact. It's kind of brought to the, let's say, the interior edge, if you will. The total living space has been reduced to 7,061 square feet. And again, just as a, and I do appreciate, again, not to beat it dead, but it talks about the principal structure being within 35 feet, which it is. So this is a, yes.
We have never allowed, we never had, as the board, say, okay, the principal structure is X, and we're going to now allow you to build on top of that, but that's not part of the contract. I always thought it was part of the contract. If we can put the person out in the wood, it's part of the primary, but we have, we just need to be allowed to do that. I don't think we do that. I never, see what I'm saying is, to me, it's like somebody said, oh, no, it's only 20
Yeah, and certainly we're not, and I do appreciate the Candace, point, but we're not suggesting anything substantial like that. If we look at the scale of the residence, this will fall into the lines. It's very much like if you would think of it in terms of a traditional home, where oftentimes you'll have a gable or a hipped roof system, reverse gables, and then you have an architectural turret that comes up from like a reading room or a round element stuff. Oftentimes, those do go above the 35-foot line. And that's exactly what this is. This is, if you will, in that scale of an element on the overall residence. I don't have a call, but I do have a photograph of a residence, 8 Meadow Creek, that I think just gives an idea of the scale of what's proposed relative to a traditional house versus a contemporary element. Those walls are approximately 5 feet. Yep. So they're with, no, correct. So I'd ask you to look at the bottom photograph, that bottom photograph, a traditional residence. Clearly you can see the turret that it does. It goes substantially above the height of that residence. And that's in essence kind of the scale of a volume that's being created here. If would you like?
Is there anyone else here who would like to be heard in this application?
Would you like me to run through the rest of the call or points, or are you satisfied with that? Mhm.
Aye.
Thank you very much for the time this evening.
Application number 331-23, Jose Padilla Mendoza, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-616. Residence A District, north side of Merrill Street, 150 feet west of Marshall Avenue, Brentwood.
Good evening, Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Paola, Paola. Last name is Orellana, Orellana, the attorney for Jose Padilla, who is the owner of the dwelling 129 Merrill Street, Brentwood, New York 11717. We are here today in regards to an application to renew a permit for an accessory apartment. It is my understanding that there's only a hearing when there's an issue with a neighbor or an inspection. It's Mr. Padilla's understanding that today we are here because the owner at 127 Merrill Street, Brentwood, New York 11717, is not happy with Mr. Padilla and his family, basically. From what I understand, Mr. Padilla has followed all of the requirements for a permit for an accessory apartment. He did pay the fee to renew August 15th of 2022, which I understand is renewable every 3 years. So we are respectfully requesting for the permit to be renewed. For some background information, what Mr. Padilla has represented to me is that the owner at 127 Merrill Street has been threatening him, saying that he works for the town and that he will make sure that this permit is not renewed. He has made various inappropriate comments, saying that he will not rest until this happens and that he wants Mr. Padilla to be homeless. This has put the family under a lot of stress. Mr. Padilla's wife is actually sick. She's not here today. The owner at 127 Merrill Street has also called Mr. Padilla on his cell phone. Mr. Padilla says he did not give him a cell phone number. He doesn't know how he got his cell phone number. The owner at 127 Merrill Street has also interfered with Mr. Padilla's job, and he also did leave a letter. I do have the letter here. It is in Spanish. It's not dated. It doesn't have a name. But however, the security footage of the home does show the owner of 127 Merrill Street dropping the letter off. So at this time, from our understanding, that is the only issue, and we don't believe that has any bearing on the permit being renewed. It is our understanding that Mr. Padilla has complied with all the requirements for the permit for his accessory apartment to be renewed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? Please step forward.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Anson, A-N-S-O-N, last name Guerrero, G-U-E-R-R-E-R-O, address 127 Merrill Street, Brentwood, New York. I'm here to address the issue of the renewal of the accessory apartment and express my opposition to it. I have attempted to communicate my concerns to Ms. Padilla multiple times, but unfortunately, he has not acknowledged my issues. The last time we spoke, he claimed that he was parking at his property line, which is not the case as evidenced by the pictures that I have submitted. There are several reasons for my opposition to the renewal, including the high occupancy at the single-family residence, the large number of vehicles parked at the residence, and the high amount of trash being left on the sidewalk 2 days prior to trash day. There are a total of 11 cars parked all over the place, including in front of neighboring homes, causing inconveniences to residents and their guests. Moreover, the amount of trash left on the sidewalk is leading to vermin in the area and preventing citizens from walking on the sidewalk. These concerns lead me to believe that in the event the accessory apartment is approved for renewal, there'd be additional tenants, which could lead to more vehicles and garbage. While I understand that street parking is public, it is unjust that I, as a tax-paying resident, am unable to park my or my guests' cars in front of my home as the street is being taken over by my neighbors and or their tenants. Furthermore, I am concerned that the privilege given to Padillas has been abused and enough is enough. Unfortunately, the town of Islip is not present during these times to witness the number of cars on the street and to address the issues that are creating an inconvenience to other homeowners in the vicinity. Therefore, I respectfully request that the board considers this as my formal request to dispute the approval of the renewal of this permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I ask just a basic question?
Yes, sir.
You gave us a list of
Vehicles.
11 cars.
Correct.
Actually, I don't see you would give us this detail, color, the make, the model, and path.
I'm a car guy and I live next door. So for example, if I'm mowing my lawn, mowing the front, trying to keep, that curb appeal, I have a phone, easily can jot it down.
How often do you see 11 cars?
Every day.
Pardon me?
every day.
And for how long?
We bought the house last year, last March 26, 2022. During that time, we renovated this home. We bought it from a family friend. I've never had any altercations with Ms. Padilla, nor have I threatened him, nor do I work for the town. I work from home. Sometimes I go into the office, but never threatened her. Since day one, as soon as we signed the papers, we advised them, as a common courtesy, please don't park in front of the house as we're having construction here. PSEG was there, so was a National Grid. And every single time, there was an issue. They always said, you know, it's public parking, which we understand. However, it's always been an issue. And I've tried to address it as a common courtesy. Can you please not park in front of the house? I can't mow the front. I don't want to damage his cars. I don't want to damage anyone's vehicles.
Are these 11 cars, to your knowledge, and what you observed, do they belong to family members, or what is your?
I would say so. I don't talk to them directly. I've talked to Ms. Padilla a couple times as very polite. Never had an issue until then. But every car there is part of that residence.
And Mr. Padilla does reside there?
Yes.
So you think there, how many people do you understand that live in that residence?
With children, I would say about 12 or 13.
And this is something you have observed?
Yes. I have children myself. I have twin girls, and it's just me and my wife, and we see it every day. Again, I have no issue with what they do inside of their home.
No, give us
It's,
all time.
yeah,
I would not have 12 cars parked.
yeah. You know, we have guests. Other neighbors didn't want to come forward due to the fact that they have accessory apartments. Some are legal, some aren't. But we understand that it's just an inconvenience for us and our guests. I'm not saying I have guests every single day. However, I find it an inconvenience that I had to ask for permission to move the car or vehicle.
Could you just point out which house is yours?
So you see the long driveway? Yep, that house right there.
That's you.
That's my house.
So you're the neighbor to.
West. I'm adjacent to it, west.
So even in this picture right here, they have 4 cars sitting right on the.
Yeah, that's an old picture. If you, yes, sir.
Of the cars you identified in the street, do you ever see any of those cars parked like that?
Yeah, I do.
So it's not that it revolves it, there is-
Correct.
Driveway, there's always the same group of cars alternating.
And I also have pictures too if you need them. I did submit pictures previously, but I have more.
I see a car.
Yeah, and then recently, last month, or a couple weeks ago, we just had some new fencing put up. And as a common courtesy, we told the guys to park in our driveway, we'll park in the street. However, we had to park across the street, or a couple of our cars had to park across the street. I advised the neighbor if it was okay. He said, no problem at all. Thank you for asking. That was it.
Any other questions for Mr. Guerrero? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
One second, let's just see if there's anyone else. No, Mr. Guerrero, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application?
If I may, I just wanted to say that Mr. Padilla did say that they do have 6 cars, but they certainly do not have 11 cars. Sometimes family members visit, as family members visit every house, including Mr. Guerrero's
But
house.
what do we do when somebody comes in for a and a neighbor? Neighbors don't come and complain for no reason whatsoever. And give us not only the name, make, model, color, license of all the cars that park there. How is that fair to the neighbors?
Well, what we would argue is that there's not 11 cars. If there was 11 cars there every day, I would agree that that is an inconvenience, definitely.
We don't know either.
No, I don't, but I don't believe that a picture he doesn't have pictures of the 11 cars every day there either. I believe that's arbitrary to show one photograph. And then also, he says that he believes if this permit is given, that he's scared.
One, the attorney, the applicant said, oh, no, it's only 6 cars, and you have the neighbors or something. No, they're 12, 11, 12, they're there. How do we determine credibility?
Right, so something that I would just point out is that he did say that if this permit is given, that he's scared that new tenants are gonna come in and live there. But that's not the case. The permit would be simply renewed and there's nobody else that would be living at the home. If this was a new accessory apartment and this was the issue now, and then we were renewing, I could see.
How about if we put this over for a time and ask the town to sporadically observe the property and see how many cars are
We would have no problem with that. Mr. Padilla, every member of the home is actually a part of his family, and so he very much would like to keep this accessory apartment in any way, shape, or form that he can. And if he could do anything to rectify this or to remedy, ameliorate any issues or concerns, he will. But
Does that seem fair to have a neutral party? I mean, we have one.
Yes, absolutely.
Neutral party said, no, it's only 6, the other saying it's 12.
Of course, we understand, and given,
Town doesn't have
right,
a dog in the show.
right.
So maybe we should have town do some drive-by.
That's completely fine. We do think that's very fair.
Who is it that resides in the apartment?
Mr. Padilla's daughter. He's the owner, he resides there, and then his daughter resides in the apartment. Everybody in the home is related, yes. It's a total of 5 adults and 3 kids. They have 6 cars because one of the members does have 2 cars. He says that one of the cars doesn't work in the snow, so that's why he has 2.
Oh, yeah. You have not stop. Well, I guess it's.
Is your client okay if we can grant the renewal for 6-month period?
Okay.
That we can keep an eye on it, to make sure that there's limited parking.
Okay, and then what would happen after he would have to renew it again?
I'm sorry?
He would have to renew it again after the 6 months? Okay.
And that would give Mr. Guerrero the opportunity to let us know, either in writing or here, what he's observed, and I'm sure he's pretty thorough.
Yes.
documented. And this way, everybody's gonna notice
Right.
that all eyes are on.
Right. And I would be remiss if I did not put on record what my client also told me, that Mr. Guerrero's wife parked her car in front of their driveway and said, unless you move this car, I'm not moving my car. So it really has become inappropriate and stressful for my client. I will.
It's stressful for them.
I-
If we get into personalities.
Yes,
we're
but
never gonna get it.
parking in front of a driveway and saying, I won't let you out until you move your car, I believe crosses the line. So I just,
That's not our discretion.
That's not our discretion. And once again, I'm sure Mr. Guerrero is gonna deny it, and he will back.
Right, of course.
How do we define credibility? We can't.
right.
So 6 months, the town will keep an eye on it, and then we'll all know where we are next month.
I think that's quite fair. I understand that the board needs to listen to everybody's opinion, and I'll also advise Mr. Padilla to take photographs, notes, be thorough with what he sees and what he does, so that everything can go well, and in 6 months we could hopefully renew again.
All right, I'll make a motion that we grant application for a period of 6 months, subject to disclosure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Granted for 6 months.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Which was just asking. Yes, thank you. I think we finished.
Wasn't a good drop.
Speaking with counsel, sorry?
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Application number 332-23, Victor Hercules and Yanira Hernandez. Permission to leave one-story addition, 10.3 by 11.1, having side yard of 10.9 feet and roofed-over cellar entrance having side yard of 5 feet instead of required 14 feet each. In-ground pool having rear yard of 9.2 feet instead of required 10 feet. Pool patio having side yard of 4 feet and rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 6 feet each. And shed having rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, south side of Hancock Street, 297 feet east of Knoll Place, Brentwood. Is anybody here on that application?
Yeah, second call that.
Application number 333-23, Olman Flores. Permission to leave retaining wall on property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Shed having 10 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20, and shed having rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, south side of Earl Street, 115.04 feet west of Carlton Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening. My name is Salim Abraham. I reside at 254-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosa, New York, Queens. Good evening. Hope everybody is well. Application, we got a retaining wall and 2 sheds. I do have pictures of the conditions of the site prior of the erection of the walls. Regarding to the wall, if you look at the layout, it's very deceiving because you can see that prior to the removal of the wall, there was railroad ties walls that were dilapidated, and the owner decided just to make it nicer for the neighborhood. So you just follow exactly the same location the old wall was. In regards to the location of it, and the height was 30 inches. I know the code requires 18 inches or less. Regarding the side yard of 4 feet. So we just removed the wall and replaced with a new concrete wall. The foundation of the wall itself is within the property line. I think the cap that was intruding shows on the property itself. I went there, inspected, I took pictures, and showing exactly I was before and how it is right now. And regarding the sheds, there's a very minimum variance at the location of the sheds. I know there's a shed that was supposed to be 20 feet away from the face of the house. He has 10 feet, but you do also have a 6-foot fence that hides the shed also.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application?
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Be safe.
Application number 334-23, Dennis Perez, permission to reconstruct one-story addition, leaving side yard of 10 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave patio on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, north side of Melandy Street, 150 feet east of Broadway, Brentwood.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Angel Aponte, A-P-O-N-T-E. I reside at 1330 Washington Avenue, Bay Shore, New York, 11706. I'm here as the agent for Mr. Dennis Perez. What we have is an addition 5.9 by 8.1 off the, it's the left rear part of the property, which would be the northwest part of the property. Currently, what's existing is too close to the property line, and I am requesting that we be allowed to cut this back to meet a previous precedence of 10 feet from the property line. And then there's hardscape that was existing prior to this that got picked up as well by the zoning department.
I'm sorry, Mr. Alfonso, I'm looking at the permission to reconstruct one-story side yard of 10 feet.
Correct, so we would be cutting it back to meet the 10-foot
What's
side
there
yard.
now?
5.8.
And they want to get rid of that and just go bump out?
It would be cut back, so not, there would still be some kind of a bump out there, just not what you're
What would
seeing.
be the variance sought for the bump out?
I'm sorry?
What would be the variance sought?
Ten- Proposing 10 feet from the property line.
And what is the? It's here, right?
It wasn't built yet.
There's not,
That's 2020, it wasn't built yet.
it wasn't built. Where is it? Right there. So here, so they ran out here, and it's, I'm looking at it, and what's the distance between the property line and where it is now? What's that distance?
What, the bump out you're talking about?
I thought
It's right on it.
You said they want to cut it back.
Correct.
It's a 5, you want to make it 10.
Yes.
It's a 5, you want to make it 10.
5.8, and I want to make it 10 foot from the side.
Oh, okay, I like that direction. All right. Yeah, really, that's why you're doing it.
There's a precedence for 10 feet, and, you know,
If the guy goes into the boss and says, I want less money.
no. No, just with my experience, it would be really hard to try to convince the board to 5.8 when I think it's like 14 feet, and it's more than half. And so that would be a difficult application. So I
What
asked,
makes you say that?
many years of being in front of you guys. So I did due diligence and speaking to Deidre about this, and there was a precedence for 10 feet. Very well might be one of my old applications that I do remember a 10-foot setback that was approved last year, but who knows? That is maybe 2 or 3 blocks away from this property, so.
So Angel, just to be clear, just in case, when you resubmit to the building department for the permit to reconstruct it,
Yes, ma'am.
is it the same square footage? You're not going to reconfigure it and lengthen the 10-foot wall?
No, so it's not a 10-foot wall, it's a 10-foot setback where it's gonna be.
I understand. So
Yeah.
it's currently the encroachment into the building envelope is 5.9 feet. So when you lop off that additional 3-point-something feet, are you going to reconfigure and just lengthen? So in other words,
It looks like it's 5.9 by 8 feet.
right,
Yes,
And now you're going to make it,
so that 8.1 is gonna be like 3-point-something.
okay.
And
But
the
it's still
5.9
5.9.
the 5.9
The
encroachment
5.9 would stay.
will stay the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're just gonna,
Sometimes when the board grants 10 feet for a one-story addition, the one-story addition goes to the building department and it's a little bit longer than it was, and the building department wants to see what the board saw. So,
understood.
got it.
Any other questions? Is anyone else who'd like to be heard on this application?
Motion to grant the application.
Just like one caveat to that, just quick.
There were no dimensions in the call, so.
Okay, so the 841 is being cut down to 5.9 feet.
No.
One is to be cut down to what?
10.
So, okay, so, you're looking at the survey, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where you see the bump out, there's a little arrow that says 5.8 east or 5.8 E.
Yes.
Okay, that is gonna be 10.
Right.
Right, so that what's affected is the 8.1, the 5.9 remains, but the 8.1 on the south side of what you're looking at,
Right.
that's what gets affected. So we're,
So the cutout's gonna be 5.9 feet long, 10 feet setback.
correct.
So we'll reflect that in the decision, please.
Yes.
All right, a second to that?
Motion second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so application's good.
Thank you very much, have a good night.
Application number 335-23, Aileen Best Home Corp. Permission to leave accessory structure 31 feet by 38.9 feet irregular, having side yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, east side of Grant Avenue, 216 feet north of Suffolk Avenue, Brentwood.
Good evening. It's Oralia Martinez and owner from Eileen Best Home Corporation. She purchased this property 5 months ago. She
I'm
was-
sorry, her name is Aileen?
Second,
Your name, sir?
Domingo Barahona, 1146 Connecticut Ave.
Get that, please?
She's Oralia Martinez from 11 Grand Ave, Brentwood. 1146 Connecticut Ave, centralizing. We purchased this property 5 months ago that has a 2-car detached garage and storage. So we don't know, have no CO, and now we have this problem. So we like to keep the garage and storage.
What's the structure?
Yes. It's on the old surveys.
Yes, that's not.
Well, it seems that way.
But what did they, I'm sorry, I'm missing out. What did they see?
So there's some old decisions, again, this is an old property, structures were built a long time ago, and there's some old decisions that were not referencing the back structure, but the structure is clearly shown present in the 1970s. Well, I say clearly, but that's a good survey, and that would confirm what Deirdre's saying, that the original part grew a little.
Right.
It got closer and closer.
No, not to the side property line.
No, no, no.
Right, take a look.
Oh, okay, I didn't see
It got bigger up back here, but that's not the part that's the issue.
So you could tell by the roof peaks what parts.
Where are they?
Here.
Right there? So that is the issue.
but it's been.
But that's, the
around
part that
since-
grew was this, that did was referenced.
Oh, I see, so this grew and then
This is where the variance was further back in
and what years is that?
60.
46. So it was like that. in
Oh, this is 1949.
1949.
Yeah, but it's,
But this is, that's the 76 decision.
they accept, yeah, old ones, there's
So
also.
prior to that,
Yeah.
So we said, we'll change the grandfather.
Well, this isn't a legal non-conforming application, I guess, so this is a variance application. I think it was a dwelling at one time. The CO references a front dwelling, so thereby, there would inherently have been a back dwelling somewhere because the CO references a front dwelling. The applicant's asking to use it, they've renovated it, and they're asking for it to be used as an.
Enforcement inspection about a month ago.
this is 7. Any other questions? Anybody else like to be heard on this application? You would, please step forward. So can you step inside?
Hello, everyone on the board. My name is Shantae Williams. I live at 10 Fletcher Place, and it's right on the side of this dwelling here. As I received the letter, I'm a new homeowner. I just purchased the home. I didn't know what was going on. I just wanted to come here because it's saying having side of the yard, which is 0.8 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Yes. Exactly. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, what I think this was for is it giving us extra property? It's not changing anything because I know they put up a fence and.
So we're trying to get a more recent aerial image that would show.
Yes, ma'am. I can't see. Okay, so it's nothing to do with that.
No.
Okay, thank you. Y'all have a good one. Good luck on your property.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to be heard on this application? Any questions on the board?
There it is. That's the.
All in favor? Aye. Application's granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you.
See, now we skip 2.
Because you live within
You're adjacent. Application number 338-23, Hamilton Kane Martin Enterprises, Inc. Permission to install primary facial sign having sign area of 140 square feet instead of permitted 32 square feet. Secondary facial sign having sign area of 140 square feet instead of permitted 16 square feet, both having height of 20 feet instead of permitted 18 feet each. Business 3 District, northwest corner of Sunrise Highway and Hamilton Place, West Islip.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Matt Calvo, CALVO.
I'm here today on behalf of American Sign Crafters, the sign fabricator and installer. And we're proposing two signs at Cohen's Children's Northwell Health location. I believe everyone has a copy of the renderings.
Any questions?
1 minute, Mr. Gallo, we're just catching up.
I looked at the photographs or the renderings and where it says Cohen's Children's Northwell Hospital. It seems appropriately sized. The large facade.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application?
No. I don't want to be heard.
Well, it seems like you could. You said no.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion for it.
Well, did you ask?
I asked, no one else is here for the application.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the application.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Application.
Bill gave up his.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Game of Thrones.
What's Northwell? It's important.
So, no, he's holding court.
Dave Moran.
So he has two applications. Okay. Has anybody arrived on the application of,
Victor Hercules.
right? No. And Yanira Hernandez? No. Okay. Okay, so which one did you want to do first, council?
We do the less obtrusive one first, I believe. Let's start with the 6 o'clock calendar, 3/24 of 23.
Back to page 3, everyone.
Ravalo?
This is the one that a neighbor did appear, by the way.
Okay.
He said he had no objection to the applications.
For the applicant.
Page
David
1.
J.
I'm going to call it first.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Application number 324-23, Jose and Ana Aravallo. Permission to leave addition to accessory structure, 4 by 24.3, having side yard of 4.8 feet instead of required 10 feet, and shed having side yard of 2.3 feet and rear yard of 1.4 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence B District, north side of Deet Street, 80.3 feet west of Church Street, Central Islip.
For the applicant, David J. Moran, 96 South Ocean Avenue, Patchogue, New York. Before we start, the denial I received has the words converted to living space, a cabana, which I don't see in the whole of the calendar, so I don't know how it was noticed. And obviously, if it wasn't noticed that way, I don't want to waste anybody's time.
There was a code amendment. The denial was 4 months old when the expediter dropped it off. There's since been a code amendment prohibiting recreational space in accessory structures. So in my best judgment, I thought you were better off proceeding calling this an accessory structure.
Fair enough. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. I'm here tonight seeking a variance for my client, Jose, who stands to my right. We have a detached structure, the nature and character of the area, as you can see from the aerial. It seems all of these houses were built with a main dwelling with a fairly substantial detached garage in the rear yard of the structure, and then obviously there's some accessory sheds and some things on the properties. What we're looking to do is legalize that accessory structure as it exists currently.
So I had asked the expediter for photos. I guess you don't have them.
I was not given that information. If the board is requiring those photos, I will certainly, if you leave it open for a period of days, I would get you whatever.
Well, that's up to them. That we have one photo that I was able to capture from Street View. It's about 10 years old. Barely shows the structure because there's lots of leaves on the trees. That's up to the board.
Mr. Moran, I'm looking at the survey, so I understand it. There is the frame shed in the rear of the property that is too close, and then it looks like they extended the house except the rear part of it, northward by, what is that, about 8 feet, 10 feet?
10 feet.
But it's one frame, a story building, right? And
Yeah, that's the, what was a garage.
And what's the total square footage now?
It's 24.5 by 24.5 of the square off.
So, that's what, a little over 500, 600.
625.
Plus or minus. I don't think this looks, what's your,
Does anyone else would like to be heard on this application? Any other questions from the board?
No.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay, application.
All right.
Thank you so much for everything. God bless you. Thank you.
Application number 339-23. James Bracco, Daniel, and Nicole Slavin. Permission to subdivide and reconfigure two parcels. Lot 1, to leave one-story dwelling having side yard of 2.4 feet instead of required 14 feet. Detached garage, 12 by 18, having rear yard of 0.9 feet instead of required 4 feet. Patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. And Lot 2, to erect two-story dwelling on lot having area of 6,000 square feet instead of required 7,500 square feet, leaving floor area ratio of 37.17% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, northwest corner of Inca Drive and Richland Boulevard, Bay Shore.
Same appearance. We're here tonight seeking to reestablish a lot line. We're here for really no other reason except the ISIP's merger doctrine. This application was brought before this board a few years back for just a regular subdivision. I'm sorry, just for a regular build on what was believed to be a buildable lot. At that time, I believe the applicant at that time was informed that a minor subdivision needed to take place based on the properties were merged at some point in time. That application was withdrawn without prejudice. I represent a contract vendee on the property, and the substance of our application today is this house was built and CO'd in, from what I can gather, legal certificate given to it sometime in 1935.
Mr. Grant, I'm sorry, just so you can orient me.
Yes, sir.
This is the home that is existing that will have 2.9 foot setback. This property is owned by whom? Right now, it's owned by Rocco. And it's by contract vendee. And this is a separate piece of property, a separate owner. Correct. So you want to reestablish that line and then just build here. Correct. This house is already existing. Correct. Right, and this house needs no variance. It can probably be 75 square feet. Right, 7,500, you got 6,000. And two-story house has like a 12% leak of floor area ratio. Otherwise, and what type of homes hold similar 6,000 square feet? You know how many in the project? Again, I don't know how many, but if you look at the film as further, this whole development is block, it's built in block, it's very square, it's very grid. Every single grid has 7 to 6 to 8 holes on it. This one in question has 5. So I would assume that this is an identical lot. The one above it is an identical lot, not 13 acres, 14 Ontario Drive. Same lot. Again, I think the nature and character of the area was developed, be developed in very similar fashion. Go up to the tiny lots, some bigger, some smaller, but yet this was a configuration, 6 or 7 houses on the square within the group.
It also seeks a floor area ratio of 37.7. What type of precedent do we have in the neighborhood
It's a mixed use in the neighborhood. I believe I don't know if anything exists as a grant of this board, because I don't know when it was developed. However, there's two-story houses, there's single, we have some neighbors here that can also testify to the nature and character. But I believe it's certainly the two-story residence that we're looking to build is certainly not obtrusive, it's not McMansion-ish. It certainly fits the nature and character of the area. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna come close because my military here.
The only IFAR was one grant, and it was looking at, the grant was 36%, but it was built before FAR.
Yes, sir.
To take a little bit of time for us to dig up some of these COs, it may not be precedent as the grant, but it will go to the character and nature of the neighborhood. And that's given, that's long the way we have the testimony, we're looking at numbers here.
Okay.
And that seems reasonable. I know it's a contract and I know it's a rush. Also, at 37.7, maybe you bring that down a little bit.
The builder's here, I'll certainly hear your suggestions, for sure.
Because, nothing here seems crazy or out of, I can get where you're coming from. And develop, we're not going to create an issue with that grant this in their time. And I guess the house that's at 2.9 is not affected by it, it's already there.
Correct.
So maybe you want to either, or you want to do the land, figure out how to make this work for you guys. Do you want to make it easier?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I love meeting with Deirdre's.
What's that?
My wife's name's Deirdre.
Very well played.
So I'm sure you guys are okay with it.
I guess, yeah.
So can I just talk to the applicant?
Sure.
While they're speaking, is there anyone else who'd like to be heard right now?
This, also, just for the board's edification, before we bring up, I don't know if they're opposition or not, but I think everyone here is related to the house that we're looking to reestablish the line. I tried to give my best half hour on the merger doctrine to them, but I'm sure they would rather hear it from you than me, so.
Good evening. Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Daniel Slavin. I reside at 19 Acre Drive.
What is that?
Sorry.
The house that reestablishes the line?
Is it 2.9 or 2.7 now, right?
Correct.
That's your house.
The subject parcel.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So basically, I come to you tonight a little confused, a little bamboozled. It was briefly explained to us in the hallway how this lot merger works. Me and my wife recently came into ownership of the house this past year. The other lot had nothing to do with that. Never had a name involvement, never had any of that regarding. The fact that I'm here is an interesting issue. I just would like to have my name separated from this lot. If he needs his variance, so be it. I just do not want to be.
Have you agreed to sell this property?
I don't own it in any shape, form, or way.
This is another slum subdivision case. We had one earlier.
Oh, so did you ever own it?
No.
So what is it that you want?
So you received notice of the hearing?
Yes.
And you have no standing?
Well, he does have standards.
Oh.
Apparently, it was brought to my attention that I have to, because I own 19 Acre, I have to be the applicant for, I guess, Rocco's subdivision. I'm not sure how that
The
works.
doctrine of merger in the town was to you two substandard parcels next to each other, come into some sort of common ownership, they merge, and you wouldn't get any grandfather rights, you know, set aside, and for the town purposes, municipal purposes, considered one lot, and you go to subdivide, they would have lost their grandfather rights. I'm sure that this lot's gonna have issues with the health department as well, so that's my issue for another day, but. I don't believe that his name is,
Well,
I don't
wait.
think that this, that the merger doctrine applies to title, I think it has more to do with, land use and zoning things, am I right there?
Well, we had a case many years ago where somebody tried to develop an individual lot like this that had split off. The chain of title was sent to the town attorney's office. The town attorney said that it had been merged until 6 months prior, which I think was the case here in the application that was filed a few years ago. The merger had, the property had just split. We like to say a portion without benefit of subdivision approval. But the Dick Shire absolutely would not hear the case unless the other property owner stayed on it for the subdivision. And in that case, they weren't able to ever get the former seller to come back into the application. So I'm not, as you can see, the attorney filed the application. You signed it about a year ago, it seems.
I believe so. Again, this was done by Bruce knocking on my door, asking me to sign some papers. It was presented to me very differently than how it's being played out at this point. It's very vague and very vague.
Yes, for a very long time, yeah. Yes.
And then they want to unburden.
Yes, so they attempted to file in 2018 on just the individual lot. It was explained.
The vacant lot.
Yep,
Okay.
sorry, just the vacant lot. And it was explained that the chain of title, the town attorney's memo had come back saying that it had been merged until just before. I mean, hopefully the applicant can testify for themselves and I don't have to do it. Thank you.
But it
Okay.
wouldn't affect anything with this gentleman that was merged. That's like by operation of law. That's not his name.
It would to the extent
It
that
was-
he lost his grandfather status for zoning purposes.
But it's not his property.
His property is house.
Yes.
So he needs to set that
Right,
variance.
but we wouldn't hold that against him if we would grant it.
Obviously, merger says that his CO.
Which is why we're also applying for the variance to place house at the same time.
If the lots didn't merge, he would have been variance.
Okay, so once again, so by
Did I get it right,
actions,
Jerry?
so by actions of predecessors, it merged, and now this gentleman is stuck with it, and if we were to grant the subdivision, he could lose his variance.
Do you have a CO that you know of, Mr. Slavin?
I believe the CO, there was no CO. It was before that was even,
Just, let
So
me
he needs
just
a CO.
point out, there's nothing that we're going to do here that we would ever do anything to affect your. If we granted it, we'd have to have language that.
Well, he needs a
We have to
CO.
grant his.
well, I have a
You have to
paper
grant his-
from my
whatever he
title
needs
lawyer
as
that
far as
basically
variance.
said, I'm
We have to
sorry.
get it also.
So you have a paper that the title company gave you that said that COs weren't issued prior to 1938?
Correct, and I passed that on even to Mr.
But that makes the assumption that the house is going to be in a conforming location. Like, yes, you didn't need a CO to close because the title companies say COs weren't issued before 1938, but the house has a 2.9-foot side yard.
I'm
So,
going to speak to Mr. Slade about our conversations in the hallway. He just wanted to make sure that if the lot line is reestablished, that all of a sudden doesn't jam him.
Yes,
And I think no fault of anybody's in this room where. I see that.
I was,
but we can't disassociate.
So
He wants to have his name.
Does he have a variance?
Evidence of name. He signed it together.
But it's not on account.
It's lot one and lot two.
Yes. He needs to start substantive title.
You're James Rocco?
No, he's.
I'm Daniel Slade.
Daniel Slade, I'm sorry.
So we could basically.
Well, he's gonna be the variance, right.
Okay.
But you only need to do that if you're going to do both.
Right, but I think what presupposes is that Mr. Moran is going to take an adjournment and speak to Deidre about making this more
The
palatable.
FAO.
Right.
Yeah, they are.
Right, and were we to then grant it, we would ensure that the variance
A lot one.
is a lot one.
Correct.
So the issues that we have with the application do not affect your parcel.
Okay.
And the variance that you need for your piece.
Okay, so, okay, so is it basically where the line is going to be redrawn and then basically I'll be in essence re-grandfathered in and I won't have an issue on anything on my property?
It'll be better than grandfather.
Yeah, you'd be-
Right, you'll have approval.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was my main concern, just to know, going forward, I do have my issues with
the other dwelling being, pretty close to my home. But if this gets my name separated from that property, then I'm fine with that. Thank you.
So, Mr. Moran,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak tonight?
Good evening. My name is Craig Dutton. I live at 1387 Richland, which is the house across the street. My concern tonight has dwindled down to one of safety. I'm not sure. I was here for the last two hearings, for lack of the proper term, and it might have been you. I'm not sure who. Someone on the board said, yes, sir, that you never gave a variance for less than 3-foot clearance, and you never will. You said that at the first meeting, and at the second meeting, you didn't say you never will because things are always open to change. But you told Mr. Rocco, don't look too good because we just never did that. This is what was said. Now, whether it occurred or not, I don't know. My thing is safety. Somebody puts a fence up there. How's the police, how's the fire department feel about that? That's all I'm saying for consideration. And that's it.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. Anybody else?
for the board's edification, we already have health department approval to build. So again, I will take that adjournment at this time to the next meeting if that's available. And I will post haste, make a meeting with Deirdre to discuss how we get this more conforming and some empirical data from Mr. Nicolia so we can move this forward.
You want it sooner than later?
No. Well, we need time. I think that we need width of lot in the call of the meeting. I'm not sure why it was overlooked. I don't know if.
I can't speak to why.
Yeah, I think we need width in the call of the meeting, 60 instead of the required 75. So when we re-advertise, we can put it in, that's not a problem. Yeah, I was actually thinking the June 20th hearing.
It seems like that's as soon as possible. So yes, we'll take the next available date to accomplish whatever the town needs to accomplish on notice.
June 20th.
Okay.
Motion for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Good seeing everybody.
Good night.
Get one call. Let's go.
The one. Hercules. Has anybody arrived on the application of Victor Hercules and Yanira Hernandez? We'll contact the applicant and figure out what the confusion was. Okay, we have a couple of items. Ooh.
You know what that was talking about.
It's 12 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years, and we have two families.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Any second on that?
Second.
Thank you. And then we have 4 previously reserved decisions to read into the record. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. I think Ed and Bill have a big one. Application number 874-22, Tiffany and David Haas. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 9, 2023, the application is denied with regard to the additions and granted permission to leave the sheds and the driveways. On motion of
All in favor?
application number 143-23, Andrew and Maren Cole. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 9, 2023, the application is granted. On motion of
Second. All in favor?
Application number 225-23, Brian and Debbie Teague. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 9, 2023, the application is granted. On motion of?
Second.
All in favor?
Application number 293-23, Maureen Clinnan. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 9, 2023, the application is granted for a period of 3 years.
Motion.
All in favor?